Major Hurricane Erin continues to spin away out here in the Atlantic this morning and is forecast to become a much larger hurricane over the next couple days. Here to give you the latest information that we have, my name is Mitch. Good morning to you all. First thing we'll go over is current conditions with this storm system. We'll go over the latest from the National Hurricane Center. We'll go over all these model runs. The trend over the last few to several days has been small ticks to the west. Each one of these ticks means we could see more impacts along the eastern seaboard. So we'll speak on those impacts also after we get done getting very detailed on Erin. We'll discuss what's to come after Erin. There's other areas to watch, and we will speak on that. We'll round the video off with some good news, and that is a cold front on the way for a good chunk of the lower 48. And honestly, folks, I'm very excited to talk about that. So stay tuned for the very end if you're ready for some fall-like weather. If you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. And if anybody has anything that I can pray about or pray over, please put it in the comments below. So let's get rocking and rolling this morning. This is Hurricane Erin. Listen, the one thing that I take, well, two things I take from this system this morning is the speed it's going, or lack of. It's technically moving, per the National Hurricane Center, at around 7 miles per hour to the northwest, but it looks like it's just slowed to a stationary crawl. It's just barely moving, and it just seems like it's been in the same area for the last couple of days, right? I mean, I would agree if you think that. I do. But the next thing I would say is this thing's getting blasted by some wind shear right now, and it looks pretty bad. Technically, right now, per the 5 a.m. update, it is a 115 mile per hour major Category 3 hurricane. That is the lower end of the Category 3 status. So I do think by the 7:30, 8 a.m. update here in the next hour or so, this will probably downgrade to a Category 2, but it is forecast to re-intensify into a Category 3 maybe over the next 1 to 2 days. But you can see shear is impacting the system right here. A lot of the convection on the western side of the system is kind of getting ripped apart. You can see it's more so favored. A lot more action. You can see these colder cloud tops, which tells us that we have a lot more, let's draw on this a little bit, a lot more shower and storm activity on this side of the storm, the eastern, the southeastern, the southern side of the system, where the upper wind pattern is more favorable, not as much wind shear hitting the system on this part of the storm. But I mean, the core has been disrupted. You're still getting intense thunderstorm action over the lower level circulation indicated by the colder cloud tops here. But in general, this thing does not look very healthy right now. And it's really kind of in a way, I wouldn't say completely fell apart or anything like that overnight, but it definitely looks worse this morning than it did, say, yesterday at any point, in my opinion. So this is current conditions. And another way to really see this wind shear and how wind shear hits these systems and then dry air works in, I'll draw on this a little bit. You see how we have a lot of white on this side of the system. Of course, the core of the system is very white. This is moist air, and this is the water vapor loop. If you look on the eastern side of the storm, the western side of the storm right here, there's a lot more of a dulled out looking colors, some blacks, things like that. That is dry air getting very close to the heart and soul of the system, which is right here. So you can tell just a lot of convection getting eaten up. And this is because wind shear is impacting the storm system. Now, we move past this and we look at the latest from the National Hurricane Center. Right now, it's a 115 mile per hour Category 3 hurricane. It is forecast to weaken into a Category 2 hurricane sometime today. And like I said, I think they'll downgrade this hurricane in the next hour or so. But by the time we get into 2 a.m. tonight, still a 110 mile per hour Category 2 hurricane. That's a high-end Cat 2 per the National Hurricane Center. But they are forecasting this to re-strengthen into a 115 mile per hour Category 3 storm sometime tomorrow. So it could kind of undergo a third peak, if you will, if you want to call it that, somewhere in this area. And it will make its closest pass sometime Wednesday night into Thursday morning to the Outer Banks and Bermuda, which is way over here. And of course, let's widen out this cone. Right now, Newfoundland, you are not in the cone, but of course, once this gets way up here in the North Atlantic, you get colder sea surface temperatures. These tropical systems lose their tropical characteristics and become what we call post-tropical. But the big theme here is the wind field is going to broaden as this continues to move north. And normally that's what happens with any hurricane in the Atlantic, that really any hurricane in general that gains latitude, moves north. The wind field really broadens and it begins to lose some of those tropical characteristics. But one thing that I will add, we have tropical storm watches up for the Outer Banks. And, for people who are wondering, well, why do we have tropical storm watches up when we're not even in the cone here in eastern North Carolina. Well, remember, and I've said this many times, this is not the impact cone. This is where the center of the storm could go. So just because this area of the ocean and this area right here, or Bermuda's way over here, this area here is not in the cone, doesn't mean that these areas won't see impacts. This is where the center of the storm could go, the actual low-level circulation. So it could take more of that western path right here, or take more of that easterly path right into here. Of course, we know the further west it gets, the more impacts it's going to bring to the east coast. And just keep in mind that the wind field will continue to broaden as this moves north. So the system itself might weaken, but the wind field expands. So moving past that, and I will mention it's a 955 millibar hurricane, 115 mile per hour storm. And like I said, I think this is going to weaken on the next advisory. So for people screaming at me, this is not a major hurricane anymore, trust me, I'm seeing it just like you are. Let's go over the latest model data that we have. The Euro. It says the Euro thinks it's going to strengthen this today. I don't know. We're not going to really focus too much on what models are showing this to be strength-wise. Let's just more so focus on the path that it takes. So here it is, Hurricane Erin down here. We continue to move forward. We get until Wednesday morning. So this time tomorrow morning. The Euro, I do want to say, the Euro wants to deepen this into a 914 millibar storm. Let's hope that does not happen, because that would make it a category 4 or 5 again. But check this out. We already got, it looks like some outer bands starting to move into the Carolina coastline. I wonder if that actually happens tomorrow. It'll be interesting to look at the radar out of Charleston, Wilmington, Morehead City area, to see how close this really is. But we start to get into tomorrow afternoon, and you're thinking, man, this thing needs to hurry up and turn. But we start to get into late tomorrow night, into Thursday morning. This is right smack in the middle of the night tomorrow night. And this is making its closest pass. I mean, it's close enough to bring some rain bands into the eastern shorelines of North Carolina. But the meat of the storm, obviously well offshore, but the wind field is going to be huge. I mean, it's going to be breezy and windy even where it's not raining all the way into the Carolinas. But it is now close enough on the latest Euro where some of that more intense action right here, like in the yellows, the orange, the reds, is just offshore of like Cape Hatteras and just the far most eastern areas of the Outer Banks. I mean, it's close enough to bring a little bit of rain into this area. And just gusty rain bands, not just windy conditions. This will definitely bring tropical storm force winds. And you will definitely see upgrades from watches to warnings in these areas. But man, it makes a close pass, and then it heads on off. It's even gotten closer to the mid-Atlantic coastline in southern New England. I mean, look at this. It's still very far offshore, right? But listen, very breezy conditions. You're going to have a solid, easternly, northeasterly flow slamming areas of southern New England. And when I say slamming, I'm not talking about this is going to be just a ripping nor'easter or anything like that. You guys are accustomed to strong wind gusts, but you're definitely going to get some impacts from for some strong gusty winds and things like that. And wouldn't be surprised if we get some tropical storm force wind gusts out in Martha's Vineyard, Nantucket, Cape Cod, and even inland. Some 30, 40 mile per hour wind gusts are not out of the question, but this thing's well offshore. But if you look at the runs, a couple runs back, see how this thing is ticked west? I mean, that's a solid trend west. Now, I do think the trends are starting to slow down. And I'll talk about that here in a second when we show you the GFS. But the latest for like Atlantic Canada, how close does it get? Well, the Euro had this thing way offshore. Now, look how close the Euro is from the overnight model run. I mean, the outer edge of the rain shield from Erin is, just offshore of Nova Scotia. And just, it's very close. I mean, we even take it up to, say, southeast Newfoundland. I mean, it's crazy because you look at a couple runs ago, it's not going to let me show, but if you do look at a couple runs ago, the Euro had this way down here. So it's much closer now. So something to watch, and it's definitely close enough to bring some strong winds. So let's go on and get this all off your screen here. What about the GFS? All right, remember, we have had ticks west in the GFS for like the last 3 or 4 days. It looks like the ticks west have stopped, which is good news. Man, we needed it to stop fast. But here's the latest GFS as we're getting into Wednesday morning. Still a strong hurricane off the southeast coastline. We take it into the middle of the night. tomorrow night and a Thursday morning. Very strong hurricane off the coastline. But if you look at this run, if we look at the last like 3 runs, you can tell that it's kind of, the trend has stopped. Now, that doesn't mean that it couldn't. I mean, at the end of the day, this is more so real-time watching. I mean, the hurricane's technically right on down the road in the Western Atlantic. It's not that far away anymore, and it's definitely going to pick up some more forward northerly momentum over the next several hours. But the GFS has it pretty close, but it looks like the trend west has stopped. But this is Thursday morning, still close enough to bring some rain bands into the Outer Banks, and I mean even a little bit inland, certainly could see it into Virginia Beach, Norfolk, into the Tidewater, but then it races off to the north and east, and then we're done with it. Now, what about New England? It's close. It's right off the shoreline. Now, I would say several hundred miles, but it's close enough to, what's wild? Some people are thinking, man, we're not going to get any impacts. This thing's way offshore. Well, I'm telling you, the wind field is going to be huge. It's going to be close enough. It's going to be large enough to bring gusty winds into southern New England. If we look at Atlantic Canada, how close does it get? Looks like it misses you guys big time. So this doesn't mean that you're not going to see any impacts, but it's wild. The Euro and GFS has flipped back and forth. The Euro was way offshore. GFS was much closer. Now the GFS is way offshore and the Euro is much closer. So we're still figuring this one out. It's wild stuff, right? What about the HFA model? It's a hurricane model. I want you to watch as the wind field broadens. So the green that you see here, this is tropical storm force winds, winds over 40 miles per hour. Okay, and then the purple, that's hurricane force winds, winds over pretty much 75 miles per hour. Kind of the yellows and the reds, that's in between, right? Watch how the wind field begins to broaden as we get into Wednesday, we get into Thursday, and it gets so large Thursday morning that, the Outer Banks is getting all-out tropical storm force winds for a period late Wednesday night into Thursday. And even the far most eastern areas of the Outer Banks, like, Cape Hatteras, things like that, could get, even 50, 60, 70 mile per hour wind gusts. So, yeah, guys, the wind field is huge. I don't think that this is going to make a landfall. For a landfall to happen, you need the actual low-level circulation to move over land. I really don't think that's going to happen. Very, very, very low chance. Never say never, right? But I don't want to sit here and tell you it's not going to happen, and it does, and many of us will look like idiots, right? But we've seen crazier things happen, but it's close enough with the wind field broadening that it's going to bring significant impacts. And listen, it gets even larger. Look at this wind field. Low-level circulation late Thursday night and Friday morning, way off the shoreline of the Mid-Atlantic coastline, southern New England, but look how far west the tropical storm force wind gusts extend out in the green here. And if any point in this video I've gotten my west and east mixed up, trust me, I know my directions, but when you're just spitting a bunch of information out at one time, it's going to happen sometime. So if you caught that at all, let me know in the comments, and it's probably happened. But anyways, we're definitely going to get some gusty winds, some that could be strong for the Jersey Shore, Delaware, Long Island, southern New England, certainly Martha's Vineyard, Cape Cod. I wouldn't be surprised we get some tropical storm watches issued for Cape Cod, Martha's Vineyard, Nantucket. Wouldn't be surprised one bit. And just, the wind field gets so large that we're going to get some strong gusty winds, even though it's a huge miss here in the southern areas of Nova Scotia. And we really need some rain in this area. We don't just need dry winds. We need some rain. But it does look like the strongest winds is offshore in like southeast Newfoundland, but we still need to watch it. Now, as far as impacts, what about the Euro? How strong are the winds being forecast on this? Well, they're going for 60, 70 mile per hour wind gusts, not sustained wind gusts in the Outer Banks. The entire Outer Banks now. Even some, 30, 40 mile per hour wind gusts are possible in Wilmington. And just along the entire North Carolina coastline, and even inland. Even Raleigh could get some strong gusty winds. And when I say strong, I'm certainly not meaning damaging or anything like that. I'm starting to lose my voice. That stinks. But certainly some gusty winds are likely, even inland. So, but you even look up here in Norfolk, Virginia Beach, 40, 45, 50 mile per hour wind gusts cannot be ruled out. So, listen, it's hard to use the word dangerous situation, but they've issued mandatory evacuations for a reason in some of these areas. All the Outer Banks pretty much now, and rightfully so. I mean, we're going to get beach erosion. We're going to get tidal surge, storm surge. I mean, we're definitely going to get some, I want to even say, significant impacts from this. I mean, listen, the Outer Banks is very sensitive. I mean, we're one Category 3, 4 hurricane away from, really, in my opinion, I know some people might not agree with this, but wiping out the Outer Banks. I mean, if we got a hurricane that just plowed right into this area, it would not be good. So look at the mid-Atlantic coastline. I mean, up North Carolina, all the way up through Delaware, Maryland coastline, Jersey, Shore, Long Island, all the way up into southern New England. Look how strong the winds are just offshore. I mean, once you start to get into some of these oranges, I mean, this is 50, 60, 70 mile per hour wind gusts. And look, the height of the wind field is right offshore. I mean, even look at like Cape Hatteras. I mean, it is not too far, a couple hundred miles offshore, and you are an all-out, I mean, Category 2, 3 hurricane force winds. So, I mean, look at southern New England, Martha's Vineyard, Nantucket, 40, 50, 60 mile per hour wind gusts are possible. So, you know, you do look at the GFS. It doesn't look quite as bad. The worst of it stays offshore. But the euro has been pretty rock solid. It's really locked into a scenario for the last couple of days. So I tend to want to tip my cap to the euro here. Now, if you do look up in Atlantic Canada, you guys go off kilometers per hour. But, you know, the latest euro wants to bring, you know, in the far most southeasternly areas of Newfoundland, of the Avalon Peninsula, 100 kilometer per hour wind gusts, which is pretty much tropical, mid-grade tropical storm force winds. So the wind field is well offshore, but man, it is close, guys. It has gotten so much closer. And, you know, you do look at rain, and listen, obviously this is not going to be a big rainmaker for really anybody. But what's interesting to me is now they're forecasting rain from Erin into the Outer Banks. I mean, my face isn't away, but 1, 2, maybe as much as 3 inches of rain forecast for areas of the Outer Banks. So it'd be interesting to see how much closer this works. So I thought that was interesting. If you look at the probability of tropical storm force winds over 40 miles per hour, it has increased for areas of the Outer Banks. Now we're up to 30 to 40% chance, but I think this will increase even more over the next 24 to 48 hours. But if we look at the timeline, you can stop the screen here if you want. I mean, but the timeline is well into North Carolina now. I mean, it's even extending into extreme southeast areas of Massachusetts. So that's the timeline. The winds going for storm surge, guys. I mean, 2 to 4 feet of storm surge. So this is wild coming from a tropical system that's not even going to make a landfall. 1 to 3 feet of storm surge from basically south of Myrtle Beach all the way out to Cape Lookout, basically the beginning of the Outer Banks. Outer Banks itself, 2 to 4 feet of storm surge. And then this extends all the way up into areas of the Tidewater. Storm surge expected. And because of that, we do have a storm surge watch in place in the areas in pink, Outer Banks. And here's a graphic from the National Weather Service out of Morehead City. And this was just issued like an hour or so ago. So latest information. And this is maximum wind gust forecast. I mean, gusty winds, guys. I mean, strong winds. And it says slightly higher than previous forecast. And the main concern with winds will be the potential for sound side flooding on the north to northeast wind. And I mean, the wind out of the northeast is going to be stout, guys. Tropical storm force wind gusts on the coast, highest along the Outer Banks. So big deal, guys. And I think we do have another graphic. And here it is: large, powerful, and life-threatening waves. Man, surf's up. Definitely don't want to go out there swimming or anything like that, folks. So moving forward here, there is a couple other areas to watch, and let's see if we have any new information. We don't. First area we'll watch is this area of interest. There's a tropical wave right here where this orange X is, has a 60% chance to still develop somewhere in this orange area between now and the next 7 days into a depression or a next name storm. Next name is Fernand. I think that's how you say it, the F name. So there's another area now to watch too, and it's this. There's a 30% chance of tropical development from another wave. And this is actually an Invest 99L. It's wild. This has been dubbed an Invest before the wave in front of it. And rightfully so, and I'll tell you why here in a second. But we got another tropical wave we need to watch behind it. So things continue to be very active. So this is new compared to the videos we made yesterday. So let's draw on this for a minute. This is the one that has a 30% chance to develop. This is Invest 99L. And all this clutter right here, just a broad spin. We got to see if anything can consolidate, come together. I wouldn't even call it much of a spin, just a huge chunk of tropical energy in the middle of the MDR, main development region, is our other area of interest that has that 60% chance to develop. So these two circled areas are the areas we are watching. We continue to move forward here. What about the latest GFS? This is the wave right here. This is starting off for tomorrow morning. This is the one that is Invest 99L, and this is the one in front of it that has that 60% chance to develop. So we move it into about Friday, go all the way to Saturday morning, and it discusses this too. It does not have Invest 99L surviving. I mean, it pretty much just wipes it out. It doesn't really show it developing at all. But we still need to watch it because, I mean, it looks impressive right now, blowing up intense convection. This is that wave that has a 60% chance to develop. Now, what does the GFS do with this? It pretty much now follows the euro. The GFS is a follower. It is not a leader. The GFS tries to be a leader, but it is just not a natural born leader, so it falls on its face every single time. The euro is a natural born leader, and it's obviously going to have its mistakes. It's going to tweak one way or the other, but the GFS has flat out trended to the euro in everything. The direction that this wave goes, the strength of this wave, how strong it potentially gets. Now the GFS is getting this tropical energy, and it starts right here. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Saturday morning has it kind of north of the Leeward Islands. Just looks like some tropical energy, not really a huge deal. Gets it pretty much right where Erin is right now, and does develop it, but it heads on out to sea and really doesn't bother anybody. You got to watch, obviously, the Bermuda, and this is not a forecast, but it is just wild to me how, and I still think we need to watch other areas. You know, the last two GFS runs, it's wanting to develop something here in the Western Caribbean, but it's the GFS. What about the euro? This is it right here. This is our tropical wave of interest. And as we continue to move into Sunday, we get into Monday. Where is it at? I don't know. I mean, I guess this is it right here. It's so weak that it's hard to even see it on your screen. The euro doesn't even develop it, and even if it does, it takes it out to sea. So there continues to be a weakness in the upper pattern in the North Atlantic. So there's good news right now for this wave right here. And this is the Euro Ensemble, makes up 51 members, and we'll go about a week out, and you're going to see how most of these members, regardless of strength, begins to turn north. And we take it about 1 week out, and all the members that do form, some are strong, turn out to sea. No members slip close to the southeast or the Gulf into the Caribbean. So that's pretty much all that's worth discussing on that. So what I think is this area of interest here is going to drop to a 50% chance in later updates. I just think that things are trending down, and the GFS, once again, and of course, we're speaking like the GFS is absolutely going to fail here. Everything might adjust the other direction, but it's hard to believe that when the euro has been rock solid on its scenario for a while. And many other models have too, like the Icon, the Euro AI model. None of it really took sides with the GFS. You know, we were seeing just huge hurricanes getting into the Caribbean, the Gulf, some plowing right into the southeast coastline over the last several days with this. Not anymore. Okay, now let's round this video off with some good news. We got a cold front on the way, and this is fantastic news, guys. Listen, I love late August and the early September because it's a transition period to the end of summer into fall. Even though I live in the armpit of hell, which is South Carolina, and it takes forever to really get fully into fall, it's beautiful to see this. So this is the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook. This goes from August 24th through August the 28th. This was issued yesterday. Not only are they going for below average temperatures, but there's a high chance of below average temperatures in this time frame, especially in this darker blue. But I mean, this thing extends way down to the south. So this is beautiful to see. And to just add more happiness to this pattern looks to have some longevity to it. It almost looks to reinforce itself. So from the 26th through September 1st, below average temperatures are still favored for everyone in the blue. And I've been watching this. I know everybody thinks I'm so locked into the tropics, I'm not paying attention to anything else. I'm watching other things too. But I'm always looking for the first nice cold front of the late summer, early fall, and this looks legit. So dew points are the best thing to look at when trying to figure out where cold fronts are this time of the year in the eastern half of the lower 48. And dew points in the 70s and 60s, very moist air, humid, right? Once you get into the 50s and lower, you get drier air. And the lower those dew points get, the drier it gets to the point where you need chapstick, right? So we'll start off Saturday morning, and then we start to take this into Sunday morning. Look how you got these dew points dropping into the 50s. Still dew points still in the 60s and 70s as we get into Sunday of this coming weekend. But watch how this cold front blasts through early next week. This is Tuesday morning. We got dew points dropping into the 40s across the Midwest, the 50s across the Ohio Valley, the Apps, and this makes it all the way down to Georgia, the Carolinas, Alabama, Mississippi. How much does it penetrate deep into the South? It's a big question. But the thing that I'm seeing here is how it lingers around. We got to watch tropical energy around this time period, but it looks like we have another cold front that digs down here, and this is way out. This is past 300 hours. But it just looks like a pattern that supports a lot of cold fronts, a lot of troughing. What about the latest GFS? We'd start Sunday, and I mean, it just doubles down on it. We get into Monday, you can see the transition from very humid air to very dry air. These are not temperatures, guys. We're not going to get, down to, 36 degrees in Missouri. This is dew points being modeled here. And look at the, woo-wee, man, look at that. This is Tuesday morning on the GFS. Folks, this is a week out. So we could be talking about crisp, fall-like air a week from today across the South. Dew points getting into the 40s, into Georgia and South Carolina. Look at this air mass. Phenomenal stuff. And it just sticks with us. So I'm excited about this. I am. I want to add a segment, just show my excitement for this. But that's all I got. Let's create a timestamp. I do got a quick Bible devotion. And admittedly, I did not spend as much time on this as I wanted. So I'm actually going to just wing it. So God be with me on this one, right? So this morning, once again, we are in Matthew. We're in chapter 8. And a lot of people know this one. Verse 18 through 22. It says, when Jesus saw a large crowd around him, he gave the order to go to the other side of the sea. A scribe approached him and said, Teacher, I will follow you wherever you go. Jesus told him, foxes have dens and birds of the sky have nests, but the Son of Man has no place to lay his head. Lord, another of his disciples said, First, let me go bury my Father. But Jesus told him, follow me and let the dead bury their own dead. So I think this really speaks on following Christ and how if you really and truly want to live a life of following Christ on this world, you really got to take all worldly stuff and not make it a priority in your life. Now, for me to sit here and say you got to take all worldly stuff out your life, it depends on your definition of worldly. Me creating a YouTube channel and talking about the weather could be considered worldly. So, it's how you use those things. Do you prioritize it over God? Things like that. And that's what goes back to what I always talk about. You always got to self-check yourself. But going to scripture here, it really speaks on, how you have to really fully commit yourself to following Christ. And, if you have a strong calling, if God is really just tugging at your heart to tell you to go in this direction and that direction, it's going to really make you uncomfortable. But it's the path of where God's going to use you, more than likely, to reach others. Then you got to take that path. And, that's why I'm big on when you pray for God's will on situations. Like for me, I had some stresses this past weekend with my well pump. I know that it's on its last leg. I know it's about to go out. So, my prayer was, Lord, and honestly, it's a little bit of a selfish prayer. I said, Lord, if this thing's going to go out, please let it go out in a more convenient time. But I pray that if it goes out, that I handle it the way that you want me to handle it. Not doom and gloom, victim mentality, like, oh, this is so sad. It always happens to me. You got to get rid of that, folks, by the way. And trust me, this is coming from someone where it crippled me back in my 20s. Victim mentality destroyed me in my walk. And it's just part of my testimony. And I was able to beat it. And I still struggle with it. Everybody's going to struggle with that sometimes. But, you really, truly, when you're ready to follow Christ, you got to drop everything. And you just got to go. You got to go. And it says it. A lot of people have heard that when, the guy wanted to bury his dad. But Jesus said, let the dead bury his dead. And I mean, it sounds brutal, but it's the truth. Your dad's gone. You move on. It's time to roll. You got to follow Christ. And, his disciples, they were roaming out there. They didn't have no hotel to stay at. And a lot of times they didn't have no house to stay at. They were just sleeping in the woods, very uncomfortable. I mean, we don't think about stuff like that. I don't think about stuff like that. But, they were following Christ. So they had meaning. So that's all I got, guys. I kind of winged that one. Hopefully it came off good. But God bless all you. I'll try to get caught up with all the comments today. I doubt I will. I'll try my darnest. I appreciate y'all. Thank you for the growth. And y'all have a wonderful day. I'll try to get an update tonight, but it's going to be late. I got soccer practice if it does not get canceled for the millionth time for rain. But if I do drop a video, it will be late. So it'll probably won't come out till like 9 to 10 o'clock. So that's all I got. Have a wonderful day, folks. Talk soon.